And, whoa, look at Magoo. Magoo streaks into the...
Thorpe's got past Gavors. They lock handlebars as they go through, but Thorpe's done.
Here comes Bradshaw to the outside of Bale. He takes over the number 2 position, and Bradshaw is not done. Rick Johnson is rounding the final corner and headed for the finish line jump, and there it is. The first victory of the 1989 season. Rick Johnson is now close to making it 2 in a row. One more corner in the final finish line jump, and victory is his, and there it is with thumbs in the air. Johnson tied the legendary Bob Hanna for the most wins in the history of Supercross, 27. The question still remains, can anyone stop Rick Johnson? For Johnson, the win, number 28 in his career, was a momentous occasion. He is now the winningest Supercross rider in the history of the sport. Rick Johnson is now sidelined with a fractured wrist suffered in Gainesville, Florida. The Honda star and his fellow motocross competitors were in Florida for the traditional season opener of the Outdoor National Motocross Series. We decided to follow up on the status of Rick Johnson's injury to find out what is the long-term prognosis. Here with that update is Dennis Torres.
As Mark McKay reported, Gainesville, Florida was the site of what will no doubt turn out to be the most important incident in motocross this year. No pictures exist of what happened, but RJ gives us his interpretation of the sequence of events that led to the fractured wrist.
Well, what happened was it was in the second practice in Gainesville, Florida, and I was racing around with Danny Storbeck and my teammate Jeff Stanton, and I went off the left side of a jump, and when I landed, Danny Storbeck landed on my back right side, and it pulled me off my bike. Danny seems to feel that I crossed in front of him, but I don't think he meant to do it on purpose. In fact, I know he didn't do it on purpose, but I just came out with the short end of the stick.
Rick Johnson was putting in a dream year prior to his accident. His goal to win 3 national titles will be put on hold indefinitely.
Don't relax too much, guys, because I'm going to be back stronger than ever. This is just one minor setback for the bad boy. So, see you later.
Even though it looks as if the Magic Man will not win the Supercross crown, we'd like to applaud his efforts up to the point of his injury. The 24-year-old rider gave his fans some of the most thrilling memories in the history of the sport, and that's something they can never take away from RJ or his fans. Hurry back, Rick. We'll miss you.
The pages of history as we go back to 1989, and a young Frenchman, Jean-Michel Bale, would win the world title on his Honda that year. But the U.S. Grand Prix was a race for number 16 American Rick Johnson. Johnson passing Bale and everyone else, sweeping the heat races on the day. The second heat would have a battle for Johnson with the 1988 world champion, John Vandenberg. This was quite an accomplishment, David Bailey, for Rick Johnson, just coming off that serious wrist injury.
Well, it was amazing, Johnson's dominance at the beginning of the season. He won the first 5 Supercrosses in a row, then he had a wrist injury, and taking over the lead right here and winning at Unadilla on this rough racetrack gave him some hope, gave Honda hope that that wrist was going to be 100%.
So once again, we look at Jeff Ward. But I'll tell you, we better watch for rider number 7, Jeff Stanton. He is charging through the pack. There you see Johnson way out of shape going into that corner. Back wheel hopping all over the place. Lucky Jeff Ward through that top loop section. Timing very critical through there. Johnson continuing to try to close on the leader. There we see Jeff, followed by Rick Johnson. Jeff Stanton coming into view in the number 3 position.
Same order for the top 4.
He gets to the corner
before Rick Johnson does.
The old Ricky Johnson never doubted that he could pass anybody on any racetrack anytime you wanted to.
There, Dave, he did it again. He found a new line on the inside, just as you were talking about it. A brand new line. Look, there, he's doing it again. That's Rick Johnson, vintage Rick Johnson, and Johnson has taken over the number 1 spot. Unbelievable competition here in Atlanta.
Ward's right on top of him. As they got racing side by side, it slowed one another down, and Ward is suddenly there. Cooper will start trying the desperation moves now, and indeed, Johnson now has that confidence he had a year ago. Cooper up the inside, going for it. They are really running out of the ragged edge.
Cooper totally sideways. He had the lead there just for a couple of seconds, and that would have been for the 3rd time tonight. Cooper totally sideways. I don't know how he pulled it back.
Watch Jeff Ward. He's after these guys with a vengeance. He's finding some great lines out there, and as Johnson pulls away just a little bit here from Cooper, I'm not sure, but what Jeff Ward may be the man to watch.
Well, Ward has had the opportunity to study the lines of Johnson and of Cooper. He knows where they're going to be on every inch of this racetrack, and that's a very good point. He could be the guy to watch just because of that. Right now, though, the man out front is the one that I'm watching, and I'm really happy to see him out there. It's good to see Rick Johnson, the Magic Man, the winningest rider in the history of Supercross, back.
Back in the early 70s. Takes a big interest in motocross, does Mr. Blackwell. There's your leader, number 6, Ronnie Tishner on the factory Suzuki. And now Johnson's got him. Ricky goes around the outside, textbook pass, right around Duboc on the outside, and sets it up and stays out in front, almost takes out Duboc's front wheel. Balance as they do in riding a bike. A lot of power, and they're all into high-speed activity, whether it be motorcycles or jet skis or whatever. Look at Johnson on the inside. He's stalking him. He's going. It's got him. Johnson, a beautiful pass on the inside. Tishner did not expect that pass, and now it's Ronnie's turn to take a riding lesson from Ricky Johnson. Ricky Johnson, El Cajon, California. Got to be something in the water. You got guys like Brock Glover and Lachine and Johnson all from the same neighborhood just about. And Ricky is on the gas. There's Johnson. Number 13, Big Ricky Johnson. Went to Japan with him in 1982 when I helped stage the first ever Supercross held in Japan. He was an 18-year-old kid, and he took the Japanese officials aside and said, "This is how you start the race." And they were stunned. Johnson just said, "This is how we do it. That's it. That's the way we want it done." They walked away, and one of the Japanese officials turned to me and said, "In Japan, no young person ever questions the authority of an older person." And I said, "Well, you haven't met Ricky Johnson yet." Rick Johnson, number 13, out in front, formerly number 1. And a lot of people thought he'd be out. He's 25 years old now. Out of El Cajon, 170 pounds, 6 feet 1. Stars do to the accolades of a crowd, and they'll turn and wave at him. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Ricky Johnson comes back with a vengeance and wins the first 250 National Motocross. Young Yamaha rider, but the crowd's attention focused on Johnson and Stanton. Johnson's got it! Ricky Johnson for the first time. Here's Stanton trying it. He does. A beautiful pass in midair. Sets Johnson up, goes by on the inside. Johnson's not going to do anything stupid. He backs off the throw. Jeff Stanton, Sherwood, Michigan in front. Both these guys, 6'1½". Big guys, big motocross riders. Johnson on the inside, Stanton on the outside. Johnson trying to get a leg up on Stanton, and then they win back the other way, and Johnson's got it. He's out in front. Stanton knows he has to. 90. Stanton number 1, Johnson number 13. It looks like at this point Stanton has got this one wrapped up, but Johnson, don't count Ricky Johnson out. Johnson is a very intelligent rider. He will wait until the right moment and then make his move. And in the meantime, he's putting on a good show. There's Johnson to the inside. There's the move. Now Stanton says no. And Stanton holds on to the lead. Johnson on the inside. Going to try to drive Stanton out. He does. A beautiful move. He pushed Stanton to the outside, and that was it. Ricky went by.
Now, complete parts of the track in the shadows, which just makes it that much tougher to get around here. White flag is so tenacious. So tenacious. He's so hard to pass when he gets in front. To come alive. Johnson blocking every chance he can. Stanton looking, trying to go by, feinting, parrying, trying to go around him. Johnson looks to be tiring just a little bit. He wobbled. Here's going to be the checkered. Is it going to be Johnson or Stanton? It's going to be Johnson. And Stanton in midair.
Take a look at number 22. Bale is beginning to close in. He will shortly be challenging Stanton. Stanton is driving for all he's worth, trying to get away from Bale and the rest.
If there's a real surprise to a lot of American fans, it is that Frenchman, Jean-Michel Bale, running in second. They're so used to seeing the Europeans come over here and get used for traction by American riders. This kid's no pushover.
You can see, too, that he is using every inch of the circuit, somewhat narrow though it is. That is he is right back, knocking on the back door of Matasovic, saying, I want third, pal. They come over the jump together once again, and again Ward tries the inside line. This was successful on the last lap, and he gets past Matasovic.
In almost the exact same place on the course. Again, using that throttle perfectly to keep that little wheelie going over that rust up and not nosedive into one of those giant holes.
It's really amazing to watch them, and especially to listen to the motors as they ride. They come up to the jumps, gas it just a little, make the jump, continue on. It looks rough, but they are being very gentle with each machine.
Kudrowski just got Matasovic for that fourth position. He is now behind Jeff Ward. Rick Johnson just behind Matasovic.
So Matasovic beginning to fade a little as Ward rides all alone, and Matasovic moving backwards. There's the leader. That's Stanton. Jean-Michel Bale has closed up a little bit on Stanton and begins to attack for the lead.
Stanton actually got a little too tight on that last right-hand turn and maybe lost a little ground to the Frenchman.
Once again, the trick here is to try to figure out how the course is changing. At the moment, Stanton has the lead, but Bale has really been able to figure this course out. He's been trying a couple of new lines, and they've worked out for him. To the air that he showed there, and was able to close a little bit on Stanton.
And Bale is used to driving on very wet, almost muddy circuits. Oh, and look who's down. It is Rick Johnson, number 13, is down. He is going to possibly try to get back in this. You have to wonder about the hand.
That's right, Steve. Remember, he's riding with an injured right hand and wrist. It looked to me like he might be favoring it there. Think of how much movement, if you have an injury in the right wrist, it gets. Let's take a look at this. This is the situation that set up that fall. He just got the back end way up, and then the whole bike came over. Oh, boy, he's lucky he wasn't more seriously hurt in that one. I'm surprised he even got up.
Well, you know, Paul, I think that was a case he thought he knew exactly where he was when he came over that jump. There was a little lip there that kicked the rear wheel up that probably wasn't there a couple of laps ago. And Johnson got off hard, and unfortunately for him, we saw him try to cushion the blow with that right hand and wrist.
And look at him now using his left hand to operate the throttle. I'd say that right wrist and hand. Very soft sand. Over at the edge of the course, there's Rick Johnson. Apparently his problem is serious. He's certainly out of the run, and Gary Gerald is right there.
Ricky, obviously great disappointment. How badly are you injured?
I don't know, my ring finger, my pinky finger are going numb, they're not working, so...
It looked like you were making a terrific move. You were really coming into a position to challenge. Did you feel like you had a chance to win it?
I don't know if I had a chance to win it, but I knew I had a chance at second. But I just hope it's not broke again.
All right, get some medical attention. He's on his way to see a doctor right now, Steve.
And we wish Ricky Johnson the best. There's nothing more discouraging for...
By Johnson extremely away from Jeff Ward, but Ricky Johnson continues to lead.
Stanton goes to the end zone.
Stanton now playing follow the leader with Rick Johnson, and Stanton stalls the 500. And now Warney's starting to gain on Jeff Stanton, but Rick Johnson is still out in front and now a long ways away. Johnson now feeling some heat again as Stanton rebounds, gets the bike started, and gets on the gas, trying to catch the former champ. He goes down one more time. A tough day for Jeff Stanton here at Unadilla.
Rick Johnson, in an unfamiliar lead position, will take the checkered flag. So Rick...
We're down at Gainesville. We're going around practicing. We're riding. He's right behind me. We get up behind Danny Storbeck, who was a friend of mine. He was on a Yamaha, and there was a hill that had a jump, and then it kind of rolled back up the hill. And so you could either kind of scrub it, stay low, and go up, or you could jump really hard, land, hit, and bounce, and you're at the top. Well, I passed Danny, and he was on my right. I tried to scrub it, stay low, and accelerate, and he just jumped. And as I'm coming up to open up the turn to turn left, I didn't know he was there. And so I basically went under him. His front wheel landed on my elbow, shoved my arm under the handlebar, and so then it broke and dislocated my hand. And so my hand was back here on my arm. I got up, I looked down, and my hand was over here, and I, screaming at Danny, "What the f did you think?" Blah blah. And he's like, "You did it." So I took my goggles off, tried to hit him with them, and screaming at him, and I told Stan, "Get my bike, get my bike." And he's like, "Get on the back of my bike." I'm like, "Just start my effing bike, Started. I go to grab I'm like, I can't hold the. So I get on the back of Jeff Stanton's bike. He rides me back to the Honda pit, and they pull my hand back, and I looked at it, and it wasn't compound, but it was just so disfigured, and I don't know. So I knew. I'm like, this is not a good thing. And then we got to the hospital, and they X-rayed it, and they said you're going into surgery. And I had no family there. I was by myself. The guy comes in with the anesthesia, tells you, well, there's a good chance you might not wake up, blah, blah. These are the things, sign your paper away. And I thought, fuck, this is how it ends. I thought I was going to die. I thought, you know what? This is the way, this is like a tragic movie. Guy's having the year of his life, everything's going perfectly, and then boom, and then goes in for surgery and then doesn't come out. So I kind of said my piece with God, and I shed a bunch of tears and stuff like that, just going, I don't know what's going to happen from here, and we just woke up in unbelievable pain. Just they cut my hand both different sides and pins and drilled and all that stuff, and I never made it back. I mean, I came back and won that race a year later, but then broke my hand at Daytona because I was so sore during the week I couldn't practice, but never ever even came close to my form of what I was before I got hurt. And so struggled for another basically year and a half, and then called it quits.